we go. First cast without the rattles in it. So I went 5 casts with rattles. There's redfish right there. They're out and about for sure. In this tackle tip, we are going to talk about using rattles and soft plastic lures. And specifically, is there a time that you should be using them or a time that you shouldn't be using them? Now, before we get too far into the video, I do want to let you know that this is brought to you by the Insider Club at Salt Strong. And more than likely, the reason why you clicked on this video is you're looking for some information on how to catch more fish. Trust me, I know the situation. I know the frustration. I remember when I first started getting into inshore fishing, launching my kayaks, seeing those miles of mangrove shorelines and having no idea what to do. Out of frustration, going back, looking through YouTube, looking for a video that's going to help me out. But the problem with YouTube is just this. If you don't know that you need to learn it, then you're not going to search for it. If you think about it, if you're trying to get a degree in something, if you go to college or a tech school, there is a curriculum involved that you need to follow in order to get that degree. With YouTube, there's nothing like this for inshore fishing, and that's why we came up with that in our community. We actually have an inshore fishing school where it has a curriculum no matter where you're at, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate or an advanced angler, somebody that's just starting or somebody that's out there catching fish but not the quantity or the quality that they're looking for, or maybe even an advanced angler that's out there catching fish but they want tips on how to catch fish in a new area or maybe some tricks with some lures. We have a curriculum for you guys. By the time you go from one end of it to the other, you're going to have the information that you need to become a successful angler and go out there and catch fish every single time and even bring your friends and family out there to make some memories. So if this is something that you're interested in, this is available to you for less than the cost of a bad meal going through a drive-through. For just $10 a month, you can have access to not only the curriculum, but also our community that has reports from all over the country, our Smart Fishing Spots app, that's the technology that's going to help you find more fish, our tackle and our tackle discounts, and also the group discounts where I just used a code to save over $100 on a high-end cooler just last month. That's worth the price of admission alone. So if this is something you're interested in, I'm going to put the link to that special offer in the video description down below. Now back to what you came here for. Now, I know every scenario is not exactly the same and there's not a one thing that fits all type of situation. So what I decided to do was use this in the same scenarios that I've been having success on lately, and that is sight casting to fish that are in heavily pressured waters that's shallow and clear. I've been on a pretty good bite lately, so I figured I can go ahead and do an experiment, and I used 2 different lures. I used the Alabama Leprechaun, both with a rattle and without a rattle, and also the Prawn Junior, again, with a rattle and without a rattle. And I tried to keep all the variables down to a minimum. I used the same leader, the same line, and 2 rod setups that were almost identical. So pretty much everything would be the same when I was trying this. Now, what I was doing is I was going out there again and just sight casting to these fish, and I would alternate. I did 2 days with the Alabama Leprechaun and 1 day with a Prawn Junior. And when I would see a fish, I would sight cast to it with one with a rattle, and then the next fish I saw, I would sight cast to one without the rattle. And again, I did this for 3 different trips, and it was actually pretty eye-opening that these fish definitely had a favorite. Whenever I casted to any fish, whether it be with the Alabama Leprechaun or with a prawn that had the rattle in it, it either spooked the fish off or the fish was not interested in it. Every fish that I caught sight casting on these 3 trips were caught on the lure that did not have a rattle in it. I thought that the rattles would help in this situation to help call those fish in a little bit, but these fish spooked off almost every single time. Now again, this is highly pressured water, it's clear, it's shallow, and these fish were spooky, so it does make sense that maybe a little bit of noise might have put them off a little bit. However, I did catch a lot of fish using the lures that had the rattles built in it, and it seemed to be the larger trout were interested in it. Whether that be fishing an open grass flat or a mangrove line or a deeper cut, the lure that had the rattles in it seemed to attract the larger trout. So in this scenario, it looks like there was 2 different situations where rattles could work and rattles couldn't work. If I was to sight cast for fish in this same scenario again, in this highly pressured, clear, shallow water, I'm probably not going to use rattles. But if I'm blind casting an open flat and I'm just trying to locate fish, I think using the rattles might help a little bit. So it depends on the situation that you're facing. And again, not every scenario is going to be exactly the same. Now, I know there's a lot of anglers out there that fish different scenarios than this. There's people that are fishing deeper water, they're fishing stained water, dirty water, whether that be out in Galveston or in the Carolinas or maybe even in Northeast Florida where the water does get off colored. I would love to hear from you if you've done an experiment like this to see if the rattles have made a difference for you or not. If it had not made a difference, I'd like to hear from you. Put your comments below and let's have a discussion about this. Now, as I said before, not every scenario is exactly the same. I would love to do the same experiment in areas where either the water is a little bit stained or the fish is not as highly pressured to see if one made a difference over the other. So I'm going to keep doing experiments to see if we can really narrow it down to see when one is going to be other, when you should be using rattles and when you shouldn't be using rattles. Typically the adage is whenever you have that dark water, you want to put rattles in it, but unless you do experiments, you really don't know for sure, and that's what I'd like to boil down. So that's going to be the video. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something from it, and if you've got any questions or comments, go ahead and put those down below. I'd love to hear from you, and as always, I really do appreciate you watching. Have a great day. Bye.